So, let's see these a little bit. So, welcome to the inaugural first 12 Rounds with Rocky podcast. So, a quick brief on what's going to be happening. 12 rounds in boxing, 12 rounds of podcasts. In the next 12 weeks, we'll have a podcast every single week. We'll have some guests from inside the organisation, some guests from outside of the organisation. So, it is my honour and my pleasure to welcome our first guest.
Lucky number one.
Lucky number one indeed. So, Gracie.
Hi everyone, I'm Gracie and I am Human Capital Manager at Rocky Real Estate. I'm from the US. I'm sure Mitch was gonna announce that after the fact if no one has picked up on the accent yet.
I was about to say that those of you watching will realise that this accent isn't from around these parts.
I mean, neither are you.
Yeah, mine's more recognised than yours though. So Gracie, just tell us a little bit about you.
So I'm from the US, my family is from Illinois, and I went to school at Virginia Tech. Go
Chicago,
Hokies.
Right?
Yeah, my family's from the Chicago area.
The second city.
The Windy City, but we'll agree to disagree. And I've been in Dubai for a year now, and I've been working in HR and real estate ever since.
Nice. Mm-hmm. Nice. Well, obviously you've been with us a few months now as well, and you've made a great impression to us.
It's fantastic.
Straight away. So, how have you found things? How have you found a new industry?
So, I mean, working at Rocky, it's just been fantastic. You know, it truly is like a family. That's something that I've been looking for since I came to Dubai. And, you know, I really want to work in an organization where I feel heard and I feel seen, and that goes for every single employee as well. And I really just like that it's a tight-knit group and you know everyone in the office. So that's something that I'm really happy that I've joined here, and I'm excited to keep it going.
Excellent. I mean, like, this thing, you've hit the nail on the head with how we operate here. It's a very close-knit, very family environment. Everybody's respected, everybody's looked after. You have the founder of the organisation. He was in with us this morning. He walks in and speaks to people.
Exactly.
How are you? How's your family?
Always on the sales floor.
And he knows everybody by name.
Exactly.
He knows names of their kids. You know, I've worked in a few organisations here in Dubai, and it's very rare that you get that. So that's one thing that I personally love about here as well.
Exactly, same. And you can really tell too, like we've had agents here who have been here, 45 years?
Yeah, we have one agent, 48 years.
48 years.
Company's 49 years old and he's been here 48.
I mean, that just kind of goes to show the level of, you know, family that we go to. And
yeah, exactly. I mean, we've got agents outside now. We've got a guy that's been here 19 years as an agent, 12 years. Even our admins, we've got an admin who's head of our CRM who's been here for 9 years. So even admins in the role, they just find job satisfaction and they want to stay, right?
Exactly.
So tell us a little bit about your background back in Chicago, in the second city.
You know, I said my family is from there. I moved around a lot, so I grew up all over. But my background at school, I was psychology and organizational leadership major. So that really directed me to want to work in HR, and that's what I've been wanting to do. So I really like, taking the science of people and psychology and kind of mixing it with organizational effectiveness and seeing how those two can go together and kind of just maximize your overall workplace. So that's my passion and what I really like doing.
And where did you study?
Virginia Tech. Go Hokies.
So for those of you that aren't aware with the US, whereabouts is Virginia?
East Coast.
East
so
Coast.
So the capital of the US is Washington D.C. It's not in a state, but it's technically in Virginia, so it's right there.
Okay. Excellent.
So capital of the US.
And then real estate. So
real estate.
Have you found real estate in relation to your studies? Because one thing that I've obviously observed, I've been doing this a long time. I've worked in real estate now for, this has been my God, I'm so old, 20th year doing real estate.
And he's 22 years old.
Sorry. That's so cheesy, but I'm here for it.
That was actually really good.
She forgets she hasn't got to impress, now she's got the job. So obviously this industry, there's a lot of difficulties and challenges.
It's fast paced too.
It's very fast paced, and I think obviously the biggest challenge that we face kind of day to day, week to week, month to month is the people, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of expectations of what a company should deliver, how a company should operate. There's a lot of companies here in Dubai that operate very differently.
Yeah.
So we might hire an agent from one particular company where they're allowed to do X, Y, Z in that company, and then they come to a different company like Rocky, and we operate completely differently.
Exactly.
So how have you kind of found those challenges and overcoming those challenges of dealing with
expectations and kind of what we're offering? So I do see that a lot, and I think on my end, being an HR professional, it is super important for me to assess the market first of all, because at the end of the day, we want to set our agents up for utmost success. And I like understanding, you know, when I'm doing interviews with people and say they're happy in their current company, I want to understand why. So what more can we do to elevate your career, and what more can we offer to do the same? Because at the end of the day, an agent and a company, that's a partnership.
100%.
So, you know, we have to give and they have to give as well. And so it's just really important to figure out what people are looking for and just qualifying the candidate in itself, you know, because my needs might be different from yours.
Exactly.
And so the way that I would pitch a job to me is very different that I would pitch a job to you.
Yeah, of course. And like, obviously you see my Monday morning meetings.
Yep. Love them.
Sometimes they're very creative and fun.
They're always creative.
Yeah, not always fun though.
No.
Always depends on the week we've had the week before. But obviously one thing that I've always spoke about since you've been with the company and before you joined was about partnerships.
Yeah.
Our agents, we give them the backbone of their business. And I've always said with every organisation I've worked in that we are business partners. We give you the spine and the structure.
Exactly.
But what we need is to have that relationship where it's 50-50. And, you know, we provide the marketing support, we provide the leads and visas, CRM, SIM card, phone, all of that kind of thing. So what I guess we're looking for from our agents is the match of that. And I always say to agents, especially when I'm interviewing agents, is I want you to look at this like you're self-employed, like this is your personal business. Go and create your brand within
1,000%.
a brand. And I guess obviously one of the challenges we face sometimes is, and I'm speaking this as it is, we're not sugarcoating any of this for camera or anything, let's just say it how it is.
Yeah.
Part of the problem we have sometimes is we deliver our part in abundance, but it's not necessarily reciprocated a lot of the time. And I guess from an agent's perspective is there's that expectation level of what is expected of them. And although that can be set out in an interview stage and in training and things like that, we obviously find issues sometimes where things like leads aren't called. You know, we provide marketing campaigns, we're generating leads that we pay for per lead. And it is frustrating sometimes when those leads don't get contacted and called. So I guess how would you, as a human capital manager, how do you kind of see and manage that side of it?
No, of course. So, and that's where my psychology and, you know, kind of human behavior side comes out. And we have conversations all the time, you know, if an agent maybe isn't performing to their best, we take the necessary measures. For one thing, support. At the end of the day, everyone has something going on. And so as HR, I would love to understand how else can we support you to better support us as a company, you know? So I think it's just a case by case, ensuring to assess the needs of your agents and kind of heavily remind that this is a partnership and you got to hold up your end of the bargain.
I mean, like I said, every single Monday I remind everybody of the partnership, and you know, I'm very
you're the heavy hand, I'm the soft drink.
Yeah, good cop, bad cop. It kind of works that way. And you know, I always you see my messages in the morning about leads and lead management and things like that, because at the end of the day, I'm here for one reason. You're here for one reason. Exactly. We're here to, one, make money, but to elevate our careers.
Exactly.
You know, I've said recently in a LinkedIn post I did this week that I'm doing the best work of my career at the moment, and it's just because I'm so almost like dialed in and channeled in. Yeah. And when you're actually in that mindset, you do produce your best work. So
exactly.
Part of the challenge we have is trying to get
everyone locked in.
Yeah, and get you know, I would say we're very lucky here in comparison to previous companies that, I mean, me and you've both worked in the same company previously at different times, is trying to get everybody aligned with the vision at the same time, because you will have new people that come into the business who normally, how we see it, is they're the most proactive. They're the ones that are the ones contacting leads as soon as they come in. So the biggest challenge I see here is we have people that have been with the organization for a number of years, whether it's they get stuck in their ways, whether they get complacent, lazy, whatever you want to call it. But it's almost a case of just trying to get everybody to that hunger level.
On the same page, exactly.
So yeah, it's kind of interesting to get your thoughts on that side of it.
Because then you see, like, there's a new generation of agents. Like, the market right now is crazy and it's saturated and it's younger too. And so, of course, in any job sector, not even just real estate, you are going to see that difference in maybe complacency levels between more senior agents or more senior management versus, you know, that younger, more hungry crowd, you know? So I think that definitely plays a part into it. And as HR, you kind of have to tread lightly, because you think about some of these people have been working the way they work for 40 plus years. And that's how they're comfortable with working. And
they obviously are the ones that you manage very differently. Exactly. It's a case of, it's worked for a number of years. Let's not reinvent the wheel here with them.
Exactly.
Let's work to them and work to their strengths. And this is something I've personally adapted to in my career since I've been a manager. Is previously I've been very much like, everybody has to sing from the same hymn sheet, everybody has to work and operate the same way.
Doesn't work like that, though.
You know, the world is constantly evolving and this industry is constantly evolving. There's a lot of kind of nomad agents now, and they try and work freelance and they try and work outside of the office. They don't want to come to the office. I'm a huge believer in people coming to the office, because
1000%.
I can offer my help, my guidance when people are here.
Exactly.
When I don't see agents for 3, 4, 5 days or more,
that's a problem.
This is like red flags, right? So we want to try and be able to understand them, but the only reason we want to try and understand them is so we can help them, because if we can help them, it means they make more money. If they make more money, I'm happy, you're happy, company owners are happy, everybody's in that kind of mind space then of, if it's working, let's keep doing it.
Exactly.
So let's kind of strip back that side of the agents that we have and the agents that we're working with. Let's go to interview stage, right?
Okay.
So you mentioned earlier that you're kind of looking at bringing people in.
Yep.
So given your experience in your school history and things like that, what do you look for in an agent at the interview stage? So
for me, I don't know if you knew, but I was a sorority girl back in the day.
Does not surprise me in the slightest.
Guys,
if anybody wants to hear the sorority stories, that's going to be on a different podcast.
Technically, it's the same gig. You're recruiting people to join your club, basically. So
but you have to do initiations, right?
Yeah, later down the line. But you know, in an interview, the way that I look at it is, if I assess it in different ways. So first of all, cultural fit within the company. So if I like having a conversation with you and you can hold a great conversation with me the first time we're meeting, I immediately know that you're going to be great speaking to clients. So that's first thing that I look for. On time, huge for me. You're an early bird, so you know that being on time
Gracie's still in bed by the time that I get into the office in the morning.
I don't think so, but maybe. Honestly, maybe sometimes. But that's another thing, because if you're showing up on time earlier for the interview, you're going to be on time and early for your clients. Correct. Which is super important as well. Other than that, just being prepared. Honestly, like, it's important to have knowledge of the real estate industry in Dubai, but a lot of people just want to step into this industry in general, and if they're hungry enough and passionate enough, it is something that can be taught. I think, honestly, sales, when you break it down, it's personable. Like, if you're a good communicator, if you're excited, if you're passionate about what you're selling, then you can do far.
100%.
So that's kind of the thing that I look for, and just an easy conversation, you know, where I can just get to know you more and kind of understand where you want to go to. And it better helps me assess kind of where I can fit you into our team, what we're looking for. And on the flip side of that, we have a lot of conversations too, me and you, to try to assess, what are we lacking? What do we need to kind of target to balance out our team and to kind of, you know, elevate us?
Yeah, and I think what you've just said is kind of interchangeable with how you work with other people within the organization, right? Me and you are very similar in our aspect of how we work, which is why we're very aligned with our recruitment process. Exactly. So I think, you know, even from the step of the interview process of the agents all the way up, you know, you spoke about filtering the agents and how they fit into our organization. I think a lot of obviously that comes with how we work, right?
Exactly.
Because, you know, you will necessarily say, right, Mitch, I've got this candidate speaks X, Y, Z languages. You know, your role is human capital manager. My role is to put them in an area where they're going to go and make money. So obviously what we try and look at is where they're best fitted, where there's a strong demographic to their language skills, where we feel that they'll fit in personally, not, I'm not going to go and put somebody who doesn't speak Arabic in an area that's heavily predominantly with Arabic speakers in Dubai. It doesn't make any sense, right? So, I think obviously a lot of that has an effect on the recruitment side. So
1000%.
You've hired an agent. You've hired multiple agents and they've started in a certain week. How do you then monitor and progress those agents throughout their first 30 days?
So for me, I know everything that I do, I imagine if it was me on the other side. So I've joined companies where I've not, had that onboarding training, that support, and I'm a very hands-on person, and that's something is huge necessity for me. So when we bring on agents, we do have that comprehensive onboarding academy training for the first week, and after that maintain follow-ups, constantly check in with the new agents, even our older agents too, and our current employees, always checking in, making sure kind of where they need support, whether that's employment related, personal related, travel related, anything like that. Support is number one for me. And what I was saying in the beginning, working at Rocky, the one thing that I'm so grateful for is the level of support. When I'm sitting in an interview, I talk about your availability for your agents. You have this open door policy. Anyone can come in and pick your brain, and you have such valuable knowledge. And that's not really widely available at other companies. Everyone's so busy. It's you can't come in and talk to your manager one-on-one. You can't sit next to HR, but we're all in the same vicinity, and it's good to have these connections.
What you've just said is, I think there's a lot of companies out here now that have grown exponentially in the last 12 to 18 months. And what would have happened previously is, whether it's the managing director, the CEO, the owner, they would have been a lot more hands-on. Now they're not as hands-on.
It's changed.
And I think there's a lot of agents previously that would have had that relationship with the owner.
Exactly.
That now don't have that owner, and there's a new reporting channel, and there's a new manager, or there's team leaders. So there's a lot of ways that companies are changing and evolving. And you obviously said my door's always open. The only time my door's closed if I'm speaking to an agent.
Exactly.
So for me, that's something that I've developed, because I used to have this shut the door, lock the door, I'll do my work, and then I'll come and do my. Now I've obviously learned to adapt my way of working as well. And I think everybody now, it's all about evolution. And 1000%. This industry now it's completely different to how I first started here 6 years ago. It's completely different. Even the caliber of agents, unfortunately, at the moment, there's a lot of people that jumped on the back of the Dubai market after COVID. There's a lot of people that see the dollar and the dirham signs, and then they just want to close deals. And they think I'm going to join a company and I'm going to close a deal in my first week. What they don't see is they don't see the hardship that goes into it. They don't see, the late nights, the 1 a.m. Zoom calls with a different country. They don't see all of the things that go into it. And the real estate market's widely published about Dubai. Everybody sees the transactions.
And it's like money.
I send the articles into our group every single morning and every single evening, right? So everybody sees what Dubai is doing. It's the hottest real estate market in the world.
Oh, 1000%.
So what people see is they see people making that money. They see these glam TV shows, and they're all heavily exaggerated.
Scripted.
Scripted, exaggerated. It gives an insight into what the market is like, and I think that does bring in a different demographic of people. But the quality of broker for me, since I first came to Dubai, has plummeted massively. And I think this is, again, something that we've been very, very strong in because of our legacy here. We've been here almost 50 years. Rocky was formed when Dubai was still sand and there was 2 buildings on Sheikh Zayed Road. So for us, we have to be very selective, and we have to make sure that we are bringing in the right caliber of broker. And, we're humans. We're not going to get everything right 100% of the time.
No.
We might speak to somebody that interviews very, very well. And then they might come to put what they've learned into play, and it just doesn't click. And I think we're very similar in that we both get an idea of how well somebody's going to do within the first few weeks.
Exactly.
So that's why I was asking about how the follow-up training goes, because
you got to monitor all of that.
100%. I guess what would your stance be? At what point do you make a call of somebody, say they've joined, they're finding it really difficult in secondary market to get listings, or whether they're in off plan, they can't convert the leads? There becomes a blame culture. The blame culture is the leads are not good. The blame culture becomes the data's not good in secondary. So we obviously know our business, so how do you manage those objections from those agents?
I mean, I think with me, I obviously try to be as understanding as possible. But at the end of the day, you do find that blame culture. Like, you do get that feedback.
I've been guilty of it. You've probably been guilty of it.
1000%, yes. But at the end of the day, we have to break down kind of what they're missing, at least when they say, oh, the leads aren't good. Well, let's go through. Let's look at your past track record. You have X amount of fresh, uncontacted leads. You don't know if they're not good, that sort of thing. So you assess all that, but it's also, it's just continuous conversations. I would ideally not like it to get to the point where we are having those objections.
Yeah.
So that's why it's always so important to kind of nip it in the bud before it leads to that. So if you already see one of your newer agents struggling with, getting a listing, getting any leads, that's a conversation that needs to happen so we can help kind of, sculpt them and guide them to that before it hits that point where it's like, I quit, I can't do this, this is horrible. So for me, it's all about preparation with that, leading up to it. Consistent check-ins, consistent check-ins with their manager as well. So that's super, super important to have to kind of not let that get to that point.
Yeah. And then I guess kind of my last question for you today is, look, she already wants to come on a second episode. Time goes quick when you
second
do this,
episode
right?
with me.
The second episode will involve the sorority story, so that will be the most viewed. I guess for me, just anybody watching this, what would kind of your top tips be? One, for interview process, and after the hiring and training process?
My thing would just be, honestly, be yourself. So I'll take it back to my interview. You sat my interview.
I did.
I was 1,000% just open and honest. You
also said 1,000% quite a lot.
I always do that. Oh gosh, I'm gonna watch this back and be like cutting that out of my vocabulary.
That's 6 times.
1,000,000%. Be yourself. That's my number one tip, because you don't want to kind of dig yourself into this hole. I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. You show up to work.
Yeah.
You're not doing that. You're not achieving that. So that's my number one thing. So for interviews, be open about your experience. Be open about what you want to achieve. Be open about, the type of person you are. And then following that, once you, lock in the job and get started, grind it out. I'm a big grinder. I like locking in. I like getting my stuff done. I'm a list girl. I like managing my time as best as I can to get stuff done. And I think in the real estate industry, you have to do that, because like you said, you're your own brand. The work that you put in is the work that you're going to get out. So you just got to grind and get it done, and use the stuff that your company gives you and run with it.
Absolutely. And whether that's a handwritten diary, or whether that's like me, I ask Gracie to send everything on Outlook. If there's
Outlook calendar.
If she wants me for 5 minutes, it goes into the Outlook calendar, because that's just how I manage. I sync my Outlook calendar to my work phone and my personal phone. So I do have
more techie than me.
Yeah, exactly. But she's from Virginia. So. But no, I think this has been really, really insightful, and I hope anybody watching this takes at least something away from it, because we have no scripts. None of this is scripted. This is just an off-the-cuff conversation. We want this to be the same every single week. We want just honesty and transparency. And we've worked together now for quite a few months, and I'm very honest and transparent.
Going on 45 years.
Yeah. And sometimes you look at me when I tell you things, because I'm so down the line. You look at me like you want to either punch me, or you want to. I know this is
going to be using these.
Purchase these now. So, but no, I think for me, it's really insightful to get somebody with your job and with your sort of capabilities of what we do here onto this, and people can listen to it, take any heed from it that they need.
I loved it.
Good. Well,
I loved it. I enjoyed it.
Good.
Not nervous anymore. Great conversation.
Well, this is round 1 over.
Round 1, best one.
Round 1, best one. But thank you so much for tuning in. And next week we have a conversation with one of our agents, David, who recently not only joined real estate, but actually recently moved to Dubai. So it'd be interesting to get his thoughts on how he's performed and found the transition as well. So tune in next week.
See you next week. I won't.
Done.